During the winter, we made a couple of videos about this single-axis gimbal, the Quark stabilizer, and we thought that there were some pretty cool ideas that we had with how to make this a useful tool for filmmaking, right? Because you're able to keep the horizons level, you're able to kind of capture more information, get a wider shot, but have a more like Mavic-like feel. When we made that video, there were about 18 million comments that we needed to use the GoPro Max lens mod instead of going through the trouble of setting this up. We didn't have one at the time, so as soon as I posted that video, went out, bought a Max lens mod, and figured, okay, we'll set it up, we'll make it work. And we took it a step further. So we took my Shendrone's thick, put 3 different GoPro mounts on it. We've got one with the GoPro Max lens mod, we've got the gimbal mod here, and then this one is going to be just running real steady with horizon stabilization. In order to solve all of the questions that people were asking about, oh, you should have used the Max lens mod, that makes it easier. We're going to find out if this is the better looking thing compared to just something as simple as that or standard real steady stabilization. We'll also discuss some of the benefits of using real steady over top of something like this, as well as things like we can't put an ND filter on the Max lens mod where we can put an ND filter on the other two to kind of stop down some of the extra light. So a bunch of different things to think about. Let's get some stuff in the air, play around, and see what it looks like. What you doing here, bud?
Attaching my wing, or attempting to. Don't need these things flying off when you're trying to fly it. Gonna do some little chase action. I'm a little bit apprehensive about the landing area. Taking off, not so bad. But landing, there's not very much of a straight anything around here, so.
All right, so Winston is prepping his plane for flight. I have wanted to chase a plane with the Sicario with the BGH-1 for a while. This bad boy here, Cinelift, to chase the plane around. And then eventually we're gonna switch back over to this thing. Which, yeah, more explanation on that coming soon.
I hope we don't break it. This is the one plane I've owned that I haven't destroyed.
Yet. That's the thing with planes. It's always just a yet sort of situation. Gucci. That's a big bounce. I also wanted to throw out a huge shout out to our friends at Camera Butter for sending out some of their ND filters to be playing with. And so I'm going to slap 2 of these ND16s onto our GoPros that can take it, where the Max lens mod is going to just have to suck it because it can't take ND filters. Alright, so this is my first time using the Max lens mod, and it makes some interesting looking. Is this touching you? So first up, we're going to test out all 3 different cameras running on the Shendrone's SICK, chasing an aircraft through the air. That extra speed is going to help us put the cameras into situations that we need the horizon to stay level for. So I'm just going to try to talk over the things that I'm seeing here on these frames. So on the top left, we see the fixed angle GoPro locked in place. Bottom left is the Quark stabilizer, where it's using the gimbal to kind of keep itself level. In the middle, you see DVR, so it's just what the pilot's seeing. On the top right, you see the Max mod, and then the bottom right, just for fun, we showed the tail footage of the plane with the crazy looking drone in the back. The first thing that I notice, especially with the Max mod, is that it's not always holding the horizon. You'll see in a couple different places, like right there, it's now lower on the left side, higher on the right side, and then there's this crazy warp factor to it, where the horizon, look at that right there, just da-da-da-da-da-da. So the Max mod is now still finally just back to standard and level. And you also notice that the horizon is kind of curved, like it starts on the left and the right, and it just, I don't know, doesn't look very good to me compared to the other ones. Now, we look at the Quark stabilizer and the fixed angle, you'll see that the horizon is straight and level. There's never any of those little hiccups. Real Steady Go, I think, is doing a much better job over top of whatever it is that's in the Max mod. Now, that leads us to comparing between the Quark stabilizer and the fixed angle. You have two different things happening with these. The fixed angle obviously has to crop in to solve the issues of the horizon not being level. And so as the drone is flying, especially sideways, what you'll see is that the picture breathes. So as we do this big right-hand turn, you're going to see the frame kind of start to zoom out and zoom in a lot more on the fixed angle version of this than on the Quark stabilizer version. When we fly alongside of the plane, when the drone is kind of pitched to an angle, and you can watch the DVR to see when the drone is heavily pitched, like right now in flight, you're going to see that the fixed angle is punched in a lot more than the Quark stabilizer, which is a little bit more zoomed out. Now, it's not really degrading the picture that much from what you're seeing, but what's going to end up happening is that you lose resolution, you lose detail, and you're potentially having that frame breathing where it's looking in and out. One thing that the Max mod does have going for it is it doesn't do that breathing at all. Even the Quark stabilizer does it a little bit where the frame zooms in and out, but you still have the problem with the Max mod getting kind of that herky-jerky once in a while, as well as sometimes turning around and having the distortion on the edges. I also wanted to come through and freeze frame a couple frames for you, so we're going to kind of use this desktop record for me to be able to share my screen and then click on some of the things that I'm seeing here. So if we go back and we look at some of this footage here, right now already you can see, look at the GoPro Max mod. You're way down here and way up over here. It's just losing horizon, and then when it fixes itself, watch what it does. You see that jumpiness? So now it's finally back to level, but it took that long, and then when it actually did it, it was kind of this weird thing that it's happening. Now, so kind of setting that aside, knowing that that's a potential problem with whatever is going on with the Max Lens mod, we're going to look at the fixed angle and the Quark stabilizer to kind of see a couple of different effects that happen with those two things. So I'm just kind of scrolling around looking for a particular frame. So now here's another frame that I want to kind of call out. If you look at the DVR, you can see that the horizon of the drone itself physically is not level right now. You can see it in this bottom right corner that the Quark is tilted to the side to kind of correct for the fact that the drone is sideways. What's interesting, because of the fixed angle versus the gimbal that's actually following the angle of what's going on in the drone, is that you're chopping off part of the plane. It's a very small piece, but it's just a good frame to give an example. So if you look at the Max Lens mod, the Quark stabilizer, you can see all of the plane here, the entire wing. But on the fixed angle, it's chopped, and that's because it's cropping in. And the same thing happens if you look at the bottom, the left side of the frame here. This house is not visible there. It's completely visible there. And then you can see 3 of these rungs on the hill. You can only see 2 of them there. Now, aesthetically, still both look really good to me, honestly. They look good, but what's happening is you're throwing away resolution that you can save by having on the Quark stabilizer when you want the horizon to be level. It's not always the case that you're going to want the horizon to be level, but in the circumstances that you do, which does come up often for work for me, it's good to have this as an option without having to sacrifice on resolution and having that frame breathing where the whole image punches in. So now you've seen what it looks like chasing an airborne vehicle, and that vehicle's moving pretty quick, right? So, as we're dipping the horizon, we have to kind of keep the horizon level, and that's kind of where that cropping factor is going to become an issue. So testing out the max lens mod, the Quark, and just straight up horizon stabilizing, as well as show you what DVR looks like. I think that's a good test for in the air. Next, Winston's gonna chase me while I ride my skateboard around, just as another option to have of chasing something somewhere. Now, I'm not going to show you a lot of footage from this because we kind of got the camera angle a little bit wrong, but you can definitely see the width difference on the fixed angle and the Quark stabilizer. And then at the end of this pirouette, look at the width difference between the Quark and the fixed, and watch how much the fixed angle had to zoom back out. Look how much it's punched in now versus then it's just kind of going all over the place, and then it breathes back out like that. And that's the kind of problems that you start to deal with when you need to have the horizon stable, but you're also trying to shoot this footage. But we had this for this whole shot, we had the camera angled too high up, but you could still see some of that breathing, and I thought that was worth pointing out in this. Oh, this is beautiful now all of a sudden. Hi, welcome to a winter wonderland in April, late April. It's 4/21. Well, we're kind of getting out of our spot right here. We're a little bit low on batteries, so we're gonna go find another spot. I want to try to chase the actual car, the Tesla, so that we have a little bit, something to move a little bit faster, so that that lateral motion that is the important thing to kind of try to take out with the gimbal is more apparent. So we're gonna go find a spot where we can drive this and chase it with a drone. Let's get going. In this dive, I wanted to point out that distortion on the GoPro Max mod. You can see how bendy the earth is compared to the other two pictures. And here's the drone really gets moving to the right, where it's kind of angled to the side. You can see that there's a big difference between what the fixed angle is seeing, what the Quark stabilizer is seeing. Because the fixed angle is punching in so much, it's much more cropped in, where you get that much wider field of view from the Quark stabilizer. The Quark and the Max mod seem to be much more similar than the Quark and the fixed angle in that regard. And for this last run, we dramatically increased the speed at which the car was moving, which meant that we had to fly at much more of a harsh angle. And you can see that the Quark stabilizer view is much wider than the fixed angle and is pretty similar to the Max mod. The one thing I want to point out about the Max mod is that it actually has the least distortion out of the other pictures. So like the Quark kind of makes the car look a little bit more stretched out. I would say that the Max mod view is a little bit more like what I expected the car to look like when I come back to it. So some people, some directors especially, are very interested in making sure that the car is not messed up, that the body lines are the same as what you expect to see. So it's an interesting thing to think about, is that the Max lens mod makes that look better. And this last run was just to show off how hilariously cool the Thick with the 3 GoPros looks on camera, with the Insta360 Go recording straight back looking at this thing. I just think it looks absolutely hilarious. Like, what would you do if you saw that pop up in your rearview mirror like that? So we found this nice long stretch of road where all we wanted to do was get this up to like 50 miles an hour, where I have to fly the whole drone like super canted, which means that the gimbal is going to be leveling it off, but the other two are going to have a little bit of a trickier time dealing with that angle of attack of the drone. So that was kind of the whole purpose of going and finding a spot like this, is that we can know what that's going to look like in similar shots. So let's, it's so cold, let's get back in the car, get out of here. We're already in a weird spot anyway. So just to sum up some thoughts on the Quark gimbal and its use in FPV drones, I think I prefer the look of the footage coming off of the Quark stabilizer over top of the Max lens mod and the straight fixed horizon stabilized real steady. The need for horizon stabilized footage is not always apparent, and I think for the most part when we're flying FPV, we're wanting to have, you know, that Dutch angle. We want that look. That's something that people go for. But when you don't have the opportunity to have that happen, I think the best way to do it is with the Quark gimbal and Real Steady Go. I think the combination of not throwing information away, retaining the use of neutral density filters, and not having the weird like choppy horizon fixing that the Max Lens mod means that the Quark stabilized footage is what looks the best. I've included a link in the description below to the Quark stabilizer. This is not sponsored by them in any way. They didn't even send me this product. It's something that I purchased. And I will also have a link for the GoPro Max Lens mod, as well as all of the stuff that we used to film this video. It's a big help for the channel to have you use these links below to help, us be able to go out and create more videos like this. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider clicking that button, ringing the bell, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching this video about the Quark stabilizer, and stay flying.